Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Selvia Ocktaviani with student number A3202020164. So in this occasion, I would like to present a presentation about net analysis article of ESP. Okay, so basically there are 10 articles that we have to summarize, and right now I'm gonna explain it. So the first article was an article titled A Need Analysis of ESP in Textile Engineering Profession by Medani Belachu in 2020. So the type of this article or this study, this research is mixed method. And then there are 156 workers who have been working in textile industries from 2 to 45 years. And then there are 200 questionnaires distributed, but 856 were properly filled and returned. And also, the technique of collecting data is using questionnaires and also semi-structured interview. And the collected data is categorized, tabulated, and analyzed using percentage descriptive. And also the research question of this study are first, what English language abilities are required in the textile industries for communication purposes? And the second one is what English language skills are frequently used in textile fields? And the findings of this study are first, telephone conversation. First, to answer the first research question. So, first, telephone conversations, communication through emails, reports, periodic, monthly, semi-annual, and annual reports, and requesting and delivering products from and to customers, partners, and material suppliers. And then the second finding is speaking, which is the English language that are frequently used are speaking, writing, and reading. And then the questionnaire questioned are first dominant activities performed in English in selected textile companies, and the second one is other activities performed in English in selected textile companies, and the interview question is English language need of selected textile companies. Okay, the second one is title is Need Analysis on English Language Used by Hotel Staffs in Bandung by Alfian Azhar Yamin in 2021. This research used quantitative method and the respondent or participant of the studies are 27 hotel staffs consist of hotel managers, front desk officers, sales representative, and receptionists. And then the data collection of the study is questionnaire using Google Form. And in this research, they didn't it didn't clarify or explain the technique of analyzing that data. And then the research questioned. There is not research question in this, but they use like the objectives. So the objective in this study is to discover the needs of English language skill in the specific field of a hotel in Bandung. So the finding is all of language skill, including reading, writing, listening, and speaking, are important. But speaking is the most important skill that hotel staffs need to learn. In this study, they explain the question of this the question on in the questionnaire, which are first the importance of English language use in hotel industry. The second one is the English language skill needed in the hotel industry. The third is the most needed language function by hotel staffs in Bandung, and then the last is the problem encountered by hotel staff in using English language. And then there's not interview question because the data was collected through questionnaires only. They're not using interview. And then the third articles titled ESP course design for Indonesian hotel industry need analysis by Yuyutri Kuntoro in 2021. This research using qualitative method. And then the respondent or participant were three hotel staffs and a manager. This research used observation and interview to collect the data. But to analyze the data, they didn't mention it. And then this research also used like the objective, not really use the research question, not really reveal the research question, but only the objectives of the study, which is to identify staff's English needs in the front desk department by identifying labor's lacks, wants, and necessities. So the findings are lack speaking skill, and then the necessities speaking English in cashiering, checking in and checking out, explaining hotel facilities, and directing guests to a certain place. Front desk staff are required to understand the terminology meaning in the computer system, and the ones mastering pronunciation skills and flexible training. So the question for interviews are first, employees' difficulty in the English language production. Second, work competencies that must be mastered for a front desk staff. And three, expectation to learn English. The last is meeting duration for ESP course. And the fourth article called ESP Needs Analysis for Marketing Students in an Indonesian Vocational School, Insight from Strategy Analysis by LD Dian Hidayat in 2024. This research used qualitative method, and then the participant are 50 students of vocational school, and the collection of the data through questionnaires using Google Form And then the analysis of this data using descriptive statistics. Also, the research question of this study are first, what are the preferred learning materials, methods, and activities of marketing student at SMKN 1 Bonn? Second, what are the primary motivation of the students in learning English? Third, what specific sub-skills, speaking, reading, writing, and listening, are considered most important by the students? So the findings are, first question, so the majority of students were interested in learning materials about product management or advertising, branding, including advertising, branding, product development, and innovation, 52%. And then marketing strategy for the product or service offer, 52% also, and sales management, 38%. Students had a strong preference for group work, followed by individual works and whole class production. It's about the method. And then the activities, preferred activities. Practical and professionally relevant activities were generally the most preferred, such as writing marketing documents, giving presentation, and listening to instruction. The second finding is the student had a variety of motivation for learning English, with the primary is the desire to communicate fluently. And last, the third finding is that reading skill is viewed as the most crucial, followed by speaking and listening, with writing slightly behind. And then the questionnaire questions are: one, preferred learning material, methods, and activities of marketing students. Second, the primary motivations of marketing students for learning English. Third, the importance of sub-skills perceived by marketing students. The fifth article is needs analysis of English for specific purpose at Food, Beverage, and Mercia Hotel Bandar Lampung by Fajariantika, Robi Yuli Endra, Teresa Afruli, Ayu Kartika Puspa in 2020. It used qualitative method, and then the participants were 5 senior staffs with non-random sampling method technique, and also the data was collected through interview only. And then how to analyze the data was first the transcription or grouping based on the research question, and then second, it was analyzed in order to know the situation of the workplace situation and which answer will belong to certain English skill: writing, speaking, reading, or listening. And this research used the objective of the study. So it was to reveal the language needs for staff of food beverage service department at the Mercia Hotel in developing English skills based on its analysis. So the finding is speaking is the language function needed in grading, offering menu, asking for the customer's needs or orders, confirmation, dealing with billing, apologizing or dealing with complaining, etc. Listening is also very needed in their work. In addition, spelling and pronunciation can be crucial. So, in this article, there is no interview questions mentioned. The sixth article is needs analysis in English for specific purpose or ESP for nursing students. In this by Yuriatson Jupari, Rosmiati, and Nurliah in 2022. So the method of this study was not mentioned, like whether it used qualitative or quantitative. And the participant of this research are 36 nursing students, two English lecturers of nursing English courses are preferably overseas alumni, lecturers who have experience interacting with native or second language English speakers. And also the stakeholders, management consultants, and employees of large-scale construction companies, multinational as the target of student language learning at work. Okay, the data collection of the study was using questionnaires. In this study, they didn't mention the data analysis, like how to analyze the data. So, and also in this research, the aims of this research is to collect the information about the learners and define the target situation and environment of studying ESP. And the finding are subskill in the field of speaking, listening, reading, and writing, which are ranked the first for each subskill are reading, for example, such as read drawings or work scheduled and understand the text, work contracts in English, listening skill for understanding English instructions, hear English conversation, hear and understand English media such as internet videos, movies, songs, etc. And the speaking for pronounce new vocabulary in the language English, explaining material or object in English, explaining about process and procedures, writing for writing paragraphs in English, writing this report in English, and write the contract agreement in English. In this article also didn't mention the question, the questionnaires question. And the seventh article was called a need analysis of ESP for physical education students in Indonesia by Budi Eko Pranoto and Suprayogi in 2020. So it used mixed method, and the participants were 25 students, 5 lecturers of the Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia, and 25 students and 5 lecturers of Universitas Lampung voluntarily participate in this research. And then the data collection was used online questionnaires and interview. Next, the data analysis is started by downloading the answered question pairs and calculating the data using a simple statistical procedure. The research question of these studies are: first, how do physical education students perceive their English abilities? Second, what are the topics needed in ESP for physical education students? The findings are: first, they consider the English skills to be weak. Among those main skills of English, students are more confident with their reading comprehension and writing skill than their listening and speaking ability. Second, it is then followed by 100% response from respondent on the importance of teaching instruction topic. Our lecturer also emphasized the importance of teaching instruction topic since most graduates will become a teacher. Therefore, they need to master teaching instruction skills. The second that surprised the researcher is English for sport journalism. So the questionnaire questions are: first, personal information of the respondents, including gender, age, space English subject, make effort to improve English skills, frequency of practicing English outside campus. And then the second one is physical education students' English proficiency level. The third one is the distribution of profession dreamed by student. And the last one is the students and lecturers' preferred topic. And then the eighth article called A Need Analysis Approach to ESP Design in Iranian Context by Muhammad Ali Akbari and Mahnas Bukhayeri in 2014. It used quantitative method, and the participants are two groups of architecture students and architecture graduates. The total number of the students was 49, 28 males and 21 females, aged between 20 to 24 years. The graduates group consisted of 72, 37 males and 35 females. Participants who were graduated from different universities in Iran, with the ages ranging from 24 to 46. And then the data collection was using questionnaires and interview. The data were analyzed by SPSS Statistics 20. The research question of these studies are: first, what are the specific English language needs of Iranian architecture students and graduates? Second, what language skills do they need to develop? The findings are: first, it can be concluded that reading comprehension, followed by writing, speaking, and listening, are the most important skills needed by both groups of the participant. The second one is that it can be concluded that participants felt the least increase in their listening, speaking, and communicative competence, and the most in their reading comprehension skill. So the questionnaire questions are: first, assessing the participant listening skill. Second, analyze the participant needs and concerning the speaking ability. Third, assessing the participant writing skill was concerned. Fourth, assessing their needs of the general study of English of graduated students. Fifth, explore the opinion of the students concerning their language demand, language needs, attitudes toward language instruction, length of the course as well as the content, syllabus, and methodology of the specialized English course. Six, exploring the participants' attitude in terms of what the student lack after passing the specialized English course. The ninth article called Principles and Practice of ESP Course Design, a case study of a University of Science and Technology by Ling Li in 2016. It used quantitative method. The participants were 257 three-year students, including 62 males and 195 females voluntarily participated in the study. 105 were English major and 152 were non-English majors. Their English proficiency level was ranged between elementary to advanced 1. 158 of the participants expected English-related jobs as their future career, whereas 99 of them chose non-English related ones, including and 62 males, 197 and 95 females. The collection of this data is using questionnaires. So the analyzing method of this data using descriptive test and ANOVA statistic via SPSS statistic software package. And next is the research question of the study are first, what English language skills do the student perceive that they will need the most in the future world? Second, do the perceived needs of ESP differ among students by gender? Third, do the perceived needs of ESP differ between English major and non-English major students? Fourth, do the perceived needs of ESP differ from the variety of the students' English proficiency levels? Fifth, do the perceived needs of ESP differ among expected future jobs of the students? The findings are first question is listening skills. Second question, the result of the independent sample t-test showed no significant difference between males and females, which means male and female students have similar viewpoints on the importance of each English skill. The third question was not mentioned at all in the paper. The third questions is the result indicated that students at higher English proficiency level had higher interest in English learning. Moreover, students at elementary level had a significant difference to intermediate levels on English speaking needs. The fifth questions is still more than half of the students did not expect to obtain English-related jobs after graduation, which may indicate their view of the current situation of traditional industry in Taiwan. And then the questionnaire questions are first interest in English in learning English, the importance of four English language skill which the student perceived. Third, the gender difference in perceived needs of four English skill. Fourth, the interest in English learning, reading, listening, speaking, and writing among different English proficiency level. And the last articles called Need Analysis and ESP course design a case study of the Institutes of Nutrition, Food and Agro-Food Technologies by Lamia Elmesta in 2022. It used qualitative method. The participants are doctoral students at the Institute of Inata for the years 2019 and 2021. The total number of the students is 21. The number of the participants in the study is 12, 10 plus 10 subject teachers were also involved. The teachers teach different subject matters in relation to the students' field. So the data collection of this study is using questionnaires, and the analysis of the data was not mentioned at all. Was not mentioned at all. Or didn't mention it at all. And then the research questions are: first, what are the doctoral students' attitude towards the previous ESP course? Second, what are the problems encountered when dealing with English? Third, how can the course be ameliorated in master master run students' need in INATA from the perspective of doctoral student and subject teachers. First, the findings are: first question, most of the answers show a positive attitude ranging partly satisfied to completely satisfied. Second question, the common problem raised are vocabulary and comprehension, the ones that are related to language, like speaking, writing, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Third, after the consideration of the above interpretation, some insightful recommendations are offered. First, extending the time for ESP instruction to allow for more practice of the different language skill. Second, making group presentation based on reading and analysis of scientific articles in the field and raising debate. This will allow for the acquisition of much technical vocabularies, practice of the language skills, and bring interest to the classroom. Last, the center on the teaching of pronunciation through listening to authentic videos in the field and teachers' interference to correct the students' spelling while reading or while making oral presentation. And then the questionnaires for doctoral students. First, do you practice English outside the university? Second, to what extent did the English courses satisfy your needs in your fields of study? Third, did the teaching method used by your teacher help you to acquire the necessary of blah blah blah? Fourth, describe your language proficiency from very weak proficiency to very proficient. Fifth, indicate the relative importance of each skill to you. Six, rank the language skills you need the most in the future from 1 to 5. Have you read any papers in English before? Seventh, 8, have you purchased anything in English before? And then the question for teachers. First, how many English courses are there in the program of nutritional studies and food science? Two, what did you include English? Why did you include English in your program in Master 1 or Master 2 or L3? Third, how do you think ESP will help in achieving this program? Fourth, have you had any curriculum for teaching ESP course from the higher authorities? For example, the ministry. Fifth, what do you think your students need from English in relation to their programs? Six, what skills should be emphasized? Seven, do you think the time allocated for learning English is sufficient for achieving the students' needs? Eight, what kind of texts that go with the learner's interest? Thank you. That was the 10 articles that I have explained and summarized in this presentation. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.